Welcome back, curious minds, to another episode of The Blueprint and the Mystery that dares to connect ancient wisdom with, well, slightly less ancient wisdom.
In the previous episodes, we've already peeled back the layers on mentalism, connecting it to the sheer power of desire and seen how the principle of vibration underpins not only our mental states, but also our whole biological structure. Pretty deep stuff.
Now prepare yourselves for a journey into the mechanics of shifting your internal landscape, because today we're going even deeper. We're about to unveil how your brain is secretly a high-tech alchemy lab.
We're looking at how our thoughts can, well, literally swing our reality, moving from doubt to certainty, not by forcing it, but through a kind of mental alchemy. We're going to explore how to achieve this mental shift and crucially check it against some solid scientific research. Get ready to have your mind shifted. This is Episode 3, Thought Loops and Polar Shifts, Autosuggestion and the Principle of Polarity.
That's right. You know all that chatter about repetition of affirmations, autosuggestion? Napoleon Hill, bless his industrious heart, simply called it brain training. So let's start with his Think and Grow Rich, specifically Chapter 4, where he talks about autosuggestion. And frankly, he makes it sound like you can just whisper sweet nothings to your brain until it believes you're a genius with a yacht.
Yeah, it can sound that way. Yeah, but Hill was quite insistent calling it brain training.
Which, let's be honest, sounds far more appealing than repeatedly telling yourself things until you're thoroughly convinced. So, what did he actually mean by training? What was his vision?
Well, Hill defined autosuggestion as the practice of influencing your own subconscious mind. It's done through repeated, deliberate, self-directed thoughts, affirmations, or visualizations to achieve goals or change behavior. It really emphasizes the power of focused thought to shape outcomes. Think of it like consciously feeding your subconscious specific instructions until it basically believes you. It takes it as fact.
And he's quite emphatic that the subconscious mind is a bit indiscriminate. The subconscious mind makes no distinction between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It works with the material you feed it. So, if your inner voice is a broken record of self-doubt, congratulations, you're building a superhighway to precisely that.
He called it brain training ages ago, right before neuroscience was really a household word.
Exactly.
And at its core, autosuggestion is that practice of feeding your subconscious specific thoughts, affirmations, visualizations repeatedly. The idea is that focused thought shapes your outcomes deliberately, like those famous 6 steps he gives for accumulating money.
It wasn't just about writing down, I want money. It was reading it aloud twice daily, really seeing it, feeling it, believing you already have it.
Yes, that already in possession part is critical. And he insists if the desire is a burning obsession, you'll actually find it easy to convince yourself, which sounds
intense. It is.
Just works with whatever we feed it. Scarcity gets translated into reality just as readily as abundance does.
It's fascinating how these, well, almost esoteric sounding claims from Hill.
Yeah, how they actually seem to resonate with modern science.
It's like he somehow knew things, where only now science is mapping out properly.
It really is striking. Take psychology, for example. Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Right?
What Hill called brain training aligns incredibly well with CBT techniques. You know, consciously reframing negative thought patterns. And research in CBT shows that repeating positive self-statements can literally alter neural pathways. It reinforces new habits, new beliefs. So it's like actively retraining your brain's habits, not just wishing things were different. You're participating in the change.
Yeah, exactly that. And neuroscience goes even further. Studies on neuroplasticity prove the brain can be rewired. Repetitive thoughts, mental exercises.
They physically strengthen the neural connections for those positive mindsets or behaviors. It directly backs up Hill's idea that autosuggestion can literally program the subconscious.
Okay, so it's not just metaphor.
Not at all. And positive psychology chimes into showing how goal-oriented thinking and affirmations boost well-being, motivation, resilience. It's all connected.
That's incredible. It sounds a bit like it's actively repaving its internal roads. Forget magical thinking. We're talking about biological adaptation. Your neurons are quite literally updating their GPS based on your internal narration. Are we touching on the placebo effect here too, where belief itself causes physical changes?
We absolutely are. Research on the placebo effect is a powerful demonstration, maybe the ultimate testament to the power of belief. Convince your brain a sugar pill is a miracle cure, and it often starts releasing the body's own pharmaceutical-grade, feel-good chemicals. So yes, your brain is a lab rat conditioned to expect results, just without the food pellet.
Results? Like what?
Things like pain reduction, improved mood. It works by activating brain regions like the prefrontal cortex, releasing neurotransmitters, dopamine, for instance. The really profound insight here is that your brain isn't just passively experiencing reality. It's actively shaped by your focus.
So Hill's brain training is a direct neurological pathway. Mine's slightly blown already, but here's where it gets really interesting, right? Let's bring in the Kybalion and its principle of polarity. This idea that everything is dual. Everything has poles like a cosmic flip-flop.
Deeper, much deeper, the principle states, and I'm quoting here, everything is dual. Everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites, like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet, and so on. It reconciles paradoxes. It's a fundamental view of reality. And the Kybalion uses simple examples like heat and cold. They aren't really separate things.
Aren't they just different points on the same thermometer, the same spectrum, different degrees of the same underlying principle?
Exactly same for light and darkness, or even mental states, love and hate. It says they're just two poles of the same basic feeling, which is quite a perspective shift.
It really is.
And here's the kicker, the really juicy part. It claims it is possible to change the mental state by transmuting its polarity.
Transmuting like alchemy, right?
Right. To get rid of an undesirable mental vibration, you don't attack it directly, you concentrate upon the opposite pole. Kill out the undesirable by changing its polarity. So mentally speaking, states like courage and fear aren't separate forces fighting. They're just poles, precisely poles of the same underlying quality.
Like darkness when you switch on a light.
Exactly. It's about changing the focus, the vibration. That's the art of polarization. It's deliberate mental alchemy. The darkness wasn't a thing to be destroyed. It was just the absence of light.
I like that it sounds much more active than just hoping for the best.
And connecting this to the bigger picture. This ancient idea of polarity transmutation finds some really surprising echoes in modern science, even if the language is totally different.
How so? Like in physics?
Well, yes, the concept resonates with ideas like duality. I think wave-particle duality and quantum mechanics, something being both a wave and a particle. It's weird but fundamental. It points to this inherent balance, this existence of seeming opposites within complex systems. Even electromagnetism, positive and negative charges. It's polarity right there in the physical world. So it's not just philosophy, it feels like it's kind of baked into how things work down to electricity.
Yeah, and look at psychology again, dialectical behavior therapy. DBT, okay. It's rooted in balancing acceptance and change, managing emotional extremes such as anxiety and calmness to achieve emotional regulation.
It mirrors that polarity principle, holding seemingly contradictory truths at once, accepting yourself and striving to change.
That makes sense. It's navigating those poles internally. But what about the brain itself? Can neuroscience see this? This mental switch flipping.
Well, the neuroscience backs this up in a weirdly specific way. What therapists call polarized thinking is actually a cognitive distortion where people view the world in black and white terms without any shades of gray in between. Brain activity itself involves balancing acts like excitatory versus inhibitory neural processes. They're constantly in dialogue.
Okay, that clicks, but how does the brain actually do it? This mental alchemy, it still feels a bit magical.
It will be less magic, more intricate biology as the neuropsychological overlap is becoming clearer.
The thing that's blowing my mind is how precise this gets. When Hill talks about autosuggestion affecting the subconscious, he's describing what we now know about the default mode network, the brain's idle state where self-referential thoughts dominate. Repeated autosuggestion literally rewires those default thought patterns.
And the self-regulation circuits involving the prefrontal cortex, that's your willpower center. And shifting between mental states, like the polarity principle suggests, that likely involves similar mechanisms. Modulating activity in networks, like that salience network we mentioned, to consciously prioritize, say, optimism over pessimism, and crucially, both practices harness neuroplasticity. Sustained focus physically strengthens the neural pathways associated with that desired state.
So wait, what? Instead of think positive thoughts and good things will happen. It becomes use focused repetition to strengthen neural pathways associated with desired mental states, then take action from those states. That's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild, yeah, but the evidence points that way. When you understand that autosuggestion works through neuroplasticity, you can use it more effectively. When you understand that polarity describes cognitive flexibility, you can apply it more precisely.
Intentionality seems key in both. Absolutely deliberate self-talk and autosuggestion, conscious awareness, and shifting in polarity. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not magic, it's applied neuroscience with a philosophical framework that helps you understand why it works. The mystics were definitely onto something profound about the nature of consciousness and change. So the next time someone tells you to just think positive, you can explain that they're actually suggesting a form of self-directed neuroplasticity based on ancient Hermetic principles and validated by modern cognitive science.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll make parties more fun. But seriously, understanding the mechanisms makes these practices more effective. Which brings us to the practical question. How do you actually apply this in daily life? How do you use autosuggestion to navigate mental polarity effectively?
Strongest scientific links are in psychology, neuroscience, and cognitive science, especially around self-directed neuroplasticity, emotional regulation, and how attention shapes perception. That's where the research gets really specific. Effective autosuggestion isn't just repeating affirmations. It's about creating vivid mental rehearsals of desired outcomes while engaging the emotional and sensory systems that make those rehearsals feel real.
Okay, now, before everyone listening rushes off to repeat, I am a unicorn in the mirror until something happens. Let's talk limitations, right? The fine print, right? Is there a limit to this mental magic? Because let's be real, you probably can't just pave your way into a lottery win by intensely focusing on, I don't know, a picture of a yacht while eating pizza. It's not that simple, is it?
No, it's definitely not that simple, and that's a crucial point. Critical thinking is paramount here. These concepts are powerful tools for influencing your internal state and potentially your actions and resilience, but they're not a magic wand. They don't bypass reality or the need for, actual effort. While autosuggestion has research backing it, its effectiveness varies. It depends on belief, motivation, and consistency. And the principle of polarity suggests that instead of trying to jump from fear to courage instantly, you recognize the intermediate steps. You can move from terror to concern to caution to confidence gradually, using autosuggestion to reinforce each step. So skill and groundedness are needed.
Actually, the Kybalion warns about this, doesn't it? It talks about the half-wise who recognize the universe isn't maybe solid reality as we think.
Yes, and then imagine that they may defy its laws, and the result: they get broken against the rocks.
Yeah, by reason of their follies. Quite a dramatic warning.
It's a vital distinction they're making between mastery and just foolish denial or presumption. True wisdom that the Kybalion argues isn't about ignoring the laws. It's about using law against laws, the higher against the lower, using the principles, skillfully transmuting the undesirable into the worthy through this art of alchemy. That's the key phrase. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. Work with the principles. Don't pretend they don't exist.
Exactly. The key is specificity. Instead of I am successful, you might use I am developing the skills that lead to success, or I am taking actions that move me towards my goals. The autosuggestion becomes more believable and therefore more neurologically effective.
And you recognize that success and failure aren't opposites. They're different positions on the spectrum of goal achievement.
This removes the all-or-nothing thinking that often sabotages every effort of change.
The research shows that this kind of nuanced self-talk actually changes brain structure over time. Evidence-based interventions that drive neuroplasticity in a positive direction have the potential to improve general health. We're literally talking about upgrading your mental operating system.
And the beauty is that this isn't just individual development. It's a framework for understanding how consciousness works generally. The principle of polarity explains why people get stuck in extreme states, and autosuggestion provides a method for conscious evolution.
You know what's really striking? This conversation has shifted my own polarity from skepticism to appreciation. Not because I've abandoned critical thinking, but because I've recognized that skepticism and openness exist on a spectrum.
That's the perfect example. You haven't abandoned your analytical nature. You've used it to discover that ancient wisdom and modern science can complement each other. The polarity isn't between being skeptical or credulous, it's between being closed-minded or intelligently curious.
And I used autosuggestion to get there, repeatedly telling myself, let's see what the research actually shows instead of, this is probably nonsense. Same principle, different application.
We've covered a lot of ground today from Hill's very practical brain training via autosuggestion, which we now see has real backing from psychology and neuroscience.
To the Kybalion, deeper, more philosophical principle of polarity and mental transmutation. We've seen how they actually converge, how your own mind has this incredible capacity to, well, quite literally, rewire itself. It really comes down to taking conscious, intentional control, doesn't it? Not just passively hoping things change or letting your moods run the show.
It's a truly powerful realization. Your internal world isn't just reflecting circumstances, it's a dynamic system you can actively influence.
Exactly. And this ability to shift your mental polarity, to program your subconscious, it's not some miracle. It's presented as a trainable skill rooted in how our minds and brains actually seem to operate. It's less about external magic, perhaps, and more about mastering the potential already within you.
So, the grand takeaway? Autosuggestion is your mental gym membership. The principle of polarity is the why it works, because you're never truly stuck. You're always on a spectrum, and with consistent, intentional effort, you can slide that dial gently but surely towards your desired mental state.
Well said. And for those ready to jump into the alchemical mix of thought and polarity, start simple. What's one belief you want to nudge today? One affirmation to repeat? And remember, you're tuning a dial, not launching a rocket.
And be aware, you're not stuck in any mental state. You're just camping there temporarily. The research says you can move. The ancient wisdom says you should move. And practical experience says you will move, if you apply the right techniques.
And if all else fails, just consider that even skepticism and belief exist on a spectrum. Choose your position consciously. Keep repeating, keep shifting, and keep your polarity dial on awesome.